Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
My job is all about purpose.
Just the ability to make a difference, to help someone be able to go home at the end of the day.
My great-grandfather started the volunteer fire department in Springfield, Nebraska. My grandmother was a nurse. My uncle was a fire chief in Atlanta, Georgia. So somewhere down the line, it was my purpose to be doing this.
Yeah, we're a family here.
The data we get from Rapid SOS is life-saving.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
The more and more I'm listening to the iPhone crash detection call, I start hearing this guy on the other end starting to moan. He's moving around. Closer to the end, he's asking for help, and he can't hear me at all. I don't know if his phone was like underneath, the seat, or if it flew into the bag, but I could start hearing him asking for help. He didn't mention anything about fire, I don't think, so. But it's just one of the ones that became true.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, as well as Rapid SOS, Safer Together. And we are here, and it's been an excellent couple days. I know there's a lot of different stuff that's been going on. We'll get to some of that here shortly, but I'm just floored by a lot of the stuff that's been going on today. So again, this is Within the Trenches podcast. I don't even know what episode this is going to be, so you'll just see it when you see it, and you're watching it right now. Again, a lot of good things that have been going on, a lot of great content that is going to be coming up, and I am out on site, on location at Cass County Central Dispatch, and actually we're at the fire department right now. We've been at Cass County Central Dispatch, but this is Edwardsburg Fire Department where we're at. We've been doing some filming and a lot of other things have been going on, but I'm here with my guests and excited to have them both on for this episode and just learn more about them. So my first guest here is Janie. How's it going?
Good.
All right, excellent. And Nate.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Excited to be here.
All right, excellent. And we have a lot to talk about here. So I want to go ahead and jump in. And actually, you know what? We might just mix this up a little bit. So some of the things that we've been doing today have just been some behind the scenes on something that's going to be coming out soon. I won't say all of it, but I want to go to you, Janie, first, because we're here about this call that you both worked on. And I want to hear more about your stories, how you got into dispatch and everything, but I want to start out first with, you've got a big old camera in your face. What is that like?
Oh, it's definitely nerve-wracking. It's not something I expect, but, it's good to put this out there and for people to hear it. It's a good outcome.
Right, exactly. A good outcome from this just amazing and powerful story. And we were kind of talking about this in the beginning as well. It's just not a lot of people get to hear about the side of dispatch. You might hear things on the news or whichever. Sometimes it's just the clips here and there. We're actually going into this entire story. So it was cool to be there as they're moving around you and they're telling you, okay, I need you to type. And at one point, one of the guys with the camera, he says, so were you really typing? And and you were, and that was cool, because he said something to the effect of, because you were typing pretty fast, so I wasn't sure, and in my head I thought, that's how we do it, that's how dispatch does it. Yeah, so it was really cool to see that. And then Nate, you as well, you come in, you had a spot where you're standing off to the side, and they're telling you, this is point 1 or A or whichever, however they said it, and you're going to walk across, and we're going to say action, and then you're going to go, and just to see you go across. How was that part for you as well?
Yeah, it was like, I just had to get to something from the other side of the room, and I knew they weren't recording, and I just walked past, and the director was like, I like that. We're gonna do that. And so he was like, all right, I need you to stand here and walk across when I say go. And we did it a couple times, and I was like, just seeing the whole behind the scenes production, you always see that front stuff, and seeing everything on the backside was actually really interesting. So
that is awesome. So let's hop into the DeLorean and let's go back in time, because I want to learn more about the both of you as individuals, and we'll go back and forth and all. So Janie, starting with you, first off, how many years in public safety and dispatch do you have?
I just celebrated my 3 years back in September with Cass County.
All right, excellent. So, and you've got about 4, right?
About
we were talking
4.5,
earlier,
yeah.
4.5? Ooh, early on.
Yeah.
This is good. Yeah, that's awesome. And just appreciate everything that you guys do just in this profession. So thank you. But how did you get involved in dispatch to begin with? So do you come from a family of public safety, or did you just kind of fall into it?
So my sister, she's a paramedic firefighter. She's now dispatch. I jumped on the fire department with her, with this fire department. And then one night I went up and sat with another dispatcher, and I thought, this is pretty cool. And after that, I applied and got in.
So you actually had the chance to do a sit-along then?
Yes.
Did some significant things happen while you
No.
were there? No? Oh, okay.
It was one of their slower nights that they had.
And that's what I wanted to hear too, because sometimes people do have an experience when they're there. A lot of times when I was in dispatch, people would sit with me and they'd go, this seems really easy. Like, you guys are just kind of hanging out, just kind of chilling, and I would look at them and go, this is not a true depiction of what 911 is like, because when the shit hits the fan, it hits the fan. You are seeing a different side that usually doesn't happen. And other times, crazy things would happen, and the person sitting there, their eyes are popped open. I'm like, are they going to come back? And a lot of times they did. So you did. There wasn't a lot going on, but either way, you ended up coming back. So you had a chance to go there. You end up going through the interview process. Was that nerve-wracking at all?
Oh, definitely. You think of these figures, you're like, okay, I have to speak with the sheriff now. And it's like, that's the most nerve-wracking thing that you could probably think of I was probably 18, 19 years old. No background in anything. Right. So, yeah, that was my major thing, the sheriff.
I can feel you, because I started around 19 as well, and it was Central Florida, and I was sitting with the chief and the lieutenant. And while I am there talking to them, I'm keeping up with every question. Now, thinking about it now, and I've said this many times, they were testing me with all the questions they're throwing out to see if I can handle that pressure, because that's what we're going to be doing on 911, right? Just taking these calls, asking questions, they're going to be responding, just the whole thing. But the very last question he asked, I never expected. And that question was, what kind of skeletons do you have in your closet? And I sat back and I said, what do you mean? And he goes, no, you know what I mean. He goes, what kind of skeletons do you have in your closet? And I said, I stole a car once. And I sat there, and the chief and the lieutenant start laughing. It's like one of those moments when you say a joke or someone says a joke and you're not sure if you're supposed to laugh too. So it's that awkward, oh, okay, it's okay to laugh. But then he turns around and looks at me and he goes, no, seriously, did you steal a car? And I said, yeah, I did. And he goes, you should probably tell us about that. It was a civil situation. I'll just say it was my own car. It wasn't anything crazy. But it makes for a funny story now, but I was sweating. I still made it though. So, but you kind of, you jump in like that, you get that, you come in, you had the sit along and all of that. Now, switching over here really quick, how did you get into public safety?
Yeah, so before I started with dispatch, I was working in HVAC, and it had hit a slow season, April, May, when nobody's in the Midwest is turning on their furnace, is being turned off, their AC. They're not spending the money on that, so they don't turn it on. So it slowed down. So I took a voluntary layoff, and at the time I was working for our city fire department, and I'd been with them for about 2 years, and I was just talking with one of the officers, or one of the my other firefighters, who was working at dispatch at the time, and he's like, yeah, we got an opening, and I was like, really? Well, why don't we go down and we'll go grab some breakfast, and we'll just talk. I'll pick your brain on dispatch, because I had seen dispatch during my fire training. Everybody has to go up and just see dispatch and see how it works and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much about it, so, but I love the idea of it. I put in my application, and then it didn't take long for me to actually get hired. And yeah, going through that hiring process was really nerve-wracking. There's a lot of steps through it, but by the end of it, you get into it, and then you start doing your training, and training is just the hardest part of this job. It's the hardest, 4 or 6 months, however long that you end up training, that of your entire career, I would venture to say. And I've spoken with people who've been in it for 20 years, and they all believe the same thing, because it's just, there you hit a moment where you don't think you're going to make it. You're like, am I cut out for this? I've changed up my entire life to do this. If this doesn't work out, what am I going to go to? So once you get through that training, though, it's just that relief of like, okay, now my career really starts, and then you end up taking calls like the one we're dealing with today. So
the both of you go through what sounds like a nerve-wracking time through the interview process, getting in there and all. Now, I want you to think about, and Nate, I'm going to start with you. Now you're walking in that first day. For those who are watching and listening, what do you see when you walk in? Is it multiple monitors? Are there multiple people working at the same time? And also, are you feeling nervous or overwhelmed?
Yeah, definitely. When I'd sat in a couple times before, as the hiring process was going through, so I knew what to expect when I walked in, what I was going to see, but I had not met my trainer yet. I hadn't met my trainer's partner. So I got there. They hand me all this stuff. Here's a training binder, here's a lanyard, here's your headset, here's all this stuff, and you're going to be sitting here and now get in and log this in. And so you're being just swamped. I was nervous, but like there's no time to sit there and be like, whoa, what is that? Like you're just constantly, that first day is just information overload. And then, you finish and you're like, holy cow, that was a lot of stuff for a first day. And then, you're a week in, and then now it's okay, I'm starting to understand what's going on. But they're still like, oh my goodness, we're going to be doing all this different stuff, and it does overload you a little bit.
Oh. Taking me back to that first day myself. What about you, Janie? You ended up, you had that sit along, so you were in the environment, right? But now you're going in. It's that first day, and you're going to start to learn all of that, and it's all you and your trainer, whoever else is there. How are you feeling when you're walking in?
I would say intimidated, for sure, nervous. It's crazy to think too, watching your trainers and the other partner work talking on the phone while talking on the radio at the same time during like the very major events within those first few months of you being there. You're like, well, how do they do that? You know, then you start learning how to do it, and you're like, okay, this is easy. I can talk on the phone while I can talk on the radio.
Yeah, in the beginning, you walk in, I remember the same way, walking in, and this is not just the small PD that I started at, but the central dispatch in Allegan, walking in and seeing all of these people working. And even though I have almost 4 years of experience, it's a completely different dynamic, because I was one person for 8 hours. Now it's a whole team, and I have to learn all these other things, but I'm passing by just the same way that both of you explained. I'm passing by, I see them doing all of these things that you would think an octopus is doing, right?
Yeah.
Like you need that many arms, you know, to do all of this stuff. And they're eating at the same time.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like, this is crazy. But you're right. As soon as you get into it and get into the groove, into the mix, you're in it. And you're learning so many things. So do you remember maybe your first call or some of those earlier calls you took while you were, whether it be when you were training or off by yourself?
One of the first major calls I took once I got off training, there was a boat crash on one of our lakes. I didn't think I knew what to do at that point, because I'm like, who would think a boat crash would be the first call you would take?
Right.
Out of, you know,
Welcome
can
to
I have a
dispatch.
sick person over a boat crash?
Right, yeah.
But I just went through all the questions. I think I pulled up my SOPs just to ask every question to make sure I'm like on the right page. That one was definitely nerve-wracking as well, because they're all looking at me like, well, what's going on? I'm like, a boat crash, you know, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah. How else do you want me to say it? Like, this is what's going on. Yes. Oh man. Okay. So what about you, Nate? What were some of the earlier calls that you can remember?
Yeah, one of my first 911 calls was a structure fire. It was at, you know, downtown. Older cities have all the houses, all the businesses on Front Street, and then the apartments upstairs. It was one of those apartments had caught on fire, and the caller, his cat was inside, and so he was crying about his cat while I'm trying to get all this information, and I'm like trying to comfort him that like, oh, people are gonna be there soon, don't go back in, because he's wanting to go back inside and save the cat. And so that was something that, like, one of my first calls, I'm taking that and trying to calm down a caller while gathering information. You know, you hope that you get a caller that you're not gonna have to control their emotions while doing the job, but that comes down to part of the job where you are helping those callers who are at that precipice of they're just freaking out. They don't know what to do, and you now have to do your job while also playing therapist and calming somebody down at the same time.
No pressure, right?
Yeah.
No pressure.
Absolutely.
So many different things that can happen that are going on, and like we all know, anything can happen in 911. And you know, with callers like that, sometimes you like you said, you got to take control always, right? And try to help them, guide them through a lot of things. But then there are some callers that will call in, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, this might be an easy thing to do, but also at the same time, when you're going through an emergency, everything goes out, right? And you need that voice to guide you. And so what I'm getting at is, I remember taking a call. There were all of these houses that were catching fire, and we've got a bunch of people going out to the area, and they are telling people, like, get out of your house, evacuate, because this fire is coming across. And this guy calls, and I answer, and 911, where's your emergency? And he goes, sir, so my neighbor's house is on fire, and I see all of you guys out here evacuating. Should I evacuate my house? And I'm going to tell him, as I'm telling him, or about to finish my sentence of, if it's safe enough, of course, evacuate, do what you have to do to make sure that you're safe. Before I can get all of that out, he goes, you know what, my house just caught fire too. I'm out of here. And he hangs up and he runs. And I'm like, we're over the radio, and I'm like, did this person come out? They're like, someone just ran out. That's the house. And I said, okay, good. As long as everyone is out of that house. But yeah, I mean, there are those moments where you have people calling in. Afterwards, you think about it and you think, why didn't the person just leave? But also, like I was saying, all of that goes out of your head because you're like, it's almost like I need somebody to tell me, like, can I go ahead and go? Is it okay to go? And that is our voice, and that is also pressure as well. Yeah. Like, how crazy is that? What a profession. All of this that we end up getting into. So there's also, though, the other side of it. And the other side as well is kind of that lighter side. What are some of the more lighthearted calls that you remember? And the reason I ask this too is just so that, you know, we can get a balance as well for anybody who's listening to this. But some of those you think, is this real life? Like, is this really happening? And so one of my partners took a call once from an elderly gentleman who was calling because there was a naked guy on stilts who kept walking back and forth in front of his living room window. And I was monitoring the call, and I could chuckle because my microphone wasn't on, right? But all I could think was, this poor guy, man, what's going on? They never found the person, but what we ended up figuring out, though, was that there was a college nearby, and we thought maybe that was like an initiation of some sort.
He was getting hazed.
Yes, he was getting hazed of some sort, yeah. But they never called him. Poor guy, he got an eyeful. Yeah. Definitely. So any of maybe some lighthearted calls that you guys remember?
You know, I've had like calls of one guy was calling. He said, "Can you send an officer out here to there?" He was living in a trailer park. I said, "Absolutely. What's going on out there?" And he's like, "I just feel like something's off." I said, "What's giving you that feeling?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Did you see something? No. Did you hear something? No." I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He's like, "I just feel like something's off." I'm like, "Okay, all right. I'll send somebody out there." And I send my officer. I give it to my officer, trying not to laugh on the radio. Yeah. And he's like, "Okay, I'll go up there." And he went up there and was like, "Everything feels good up here," and then cleared.
The one person felt off. The officer felt good. Hey,
felt good to the caller.
What are you going to do?
To the officer, yeah.
And it's probably a good thing, too. You ever wonder, though, sometimes when we have people call and they're saying things that just seem so unbelievable, you ever wonder, like, what if they do actually see these certain things and we can't see it?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What if they have some insight,
ESP
that we don't see? And I don't know. We would bring that up sometimes in dispatch. I'm like, man, you never know. Like, maybe they do see something and we just can't see it. Janie, what about you? Any of the, lighthearted calls throughout the time that you've been in dispatch?
I haven't had anything like that, I don't think, in a while.
It's hard. I know. It's hard to think
of right off the spot.
Yeah, of some of them. And, if you think of one as we're going along, you can throw it out there.
The only one it's more funny. It was a 911 hang-up than anything. She was watching was it Halle Berry movie?
Oh, The Call.
Oh, yeah, The Call.
She was like, well, why doesn't she just call 911 and say, "Siri, call 911? And her phone calls. And I'm like, "Hey, do you have an emergency?" And she's like, freaking out. She's like, "Oh, I did not mean to call." She's like, "I'm watching this movie. I'm talking to the TV saying, why don't you just do these things instead of just going right into this,
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. Yeah, that right there. That is pretty funny.
Yes, that was probably my best 911 hang-up call I've had. And that was when I first started, too. And I was like, this is great. Like, that's the best excuse to call 911.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So you've got 3, you've got 4. So here's a question for you. How do you feel in these years that you've been in public safety that dispatch has changed you? What are some of those ways? And I know a lot of people have different answers because, like, for myself, even now, it's the dispatch year that you develop where you're out with people and you can hear 5 tables down someone getting their ear destroyed because they did whatever, right? And you're like, like, what did you hear? Like, that person's in trouble. Like, man, I can hear that. Or, it's a gift and a curse. You could be in a hotel and hear something 5 rooms down and you really don't want to. So how do you feel that, and Nate, we'll go ahead and start with you. How do you feel that, the profession has changed you?
Yeah, well, on the topic of that dispatcher ear, I was out got some lunch with a couple of my officers, one of the board of directors for the county, and we were sitting there, and I'm hearing a story over, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I felt something underneath the sheets, and I pulled it back, and there was a squirrel." I'm like, I didn't hear the start of this conversation. What do you mean there's a squirrel in your bed? Where were you?
What a way to come into it, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well now I wanted to like turn around and ask them what happened. I want to know the rest of the story, and like you kind of have to make that decision. I never did ask. I have no idea.
That is amazing.
But like it's stuck with me now. There was a squirrel in this guy's bed, so like. But yeah, how dispatches just change, like it becomes a part of you. It becomes your personality and who you are, because you're always kind of the way that police officers are. You start thinking of the worst case scenario situations. You walk into a restaurant, you're looking for all the exits, and how am I going to get out if somebody comes in and robs the place? How you start. Maybe you go get your concealed carry license and learn how to carry a firearm or something like that, because you hear and see all this crazy stuff. But additionally, it kind of helps calm you, because you start to realize that there's bigger issues out there. So something happens, a family member gets in a car accident, and I had this happen. They called me and was like, "Hey, I was just in a car accident." Well, you're capable of calling me. That means that you're not dead, you're breathing, you're awake and alert. I'm happy about that. Yeah. I was calm, and I was like, I'll be right there, and casually drove myself to where they had crashed. She had totaled the car, but she was fine and was able to call me. That rational thinking that you have, being a dispatcher, you can pretty much feel like you can handle any type of emergency situation and remain calm.
You chuckle. You're like, wow.
That
didn't think about
that didn't happen about me.
Yeah.
So that's a story if you want to hear that.
Hey, I mean, of course, yes. I'm all about
Talk about how we're calm in emergencies, but I find a dead body and I freak out. So.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I went to pick up my husband from work. It was 7:30 in the morning. I just gotten off shift 2 hours before, and I get there and it's Halloween. Mind you, it's Halloween morning.
The planets have aligned.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling into the company, and they have like a lamppost by the road. And I'm thinking, oh, that's cool. They put up a decoration, whatever, and it knocked over. Then I start getting closer to it, and I'm like, that's not a scarecrow. That's a dead body. So I'm yelling out to this person. I'm like, are you okay? What's going on? And they don't answer. So I park my car, I walk up to him, and he is dead. So when I called 911, I freaked out. I told the lady, I'm like, nothing you're saying is going to calm me down. I'm like, so please stop trying, because I know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was not too long ago. It was probably, 2 years now?
2 years ago, I think, yeah.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
I think it happens to all of us. We are fully trained, right? We go through all of this stuff, but when it's your turn to be the caller, it goes out the window. Or you do like what I did, and there was this little old lady across from where I lived. They had a home, and I don't remember how old she was, but she was very frail. And my son and I were going outside because the phone signal wasn't that great inside our home. So I went outside because we were going to order like some Chinese food or something, and we end up hearing a lady yelling, "Help, please!" And I thought, is that the TV? So we're looking around and don't hear anything, and then we hear it again, and I happen to look down. She had fallen face first in the driveway. Oh. And I'm looking around for any cars or anything, and I tell my son, who was probably about 5 or so at the time, I said, go inside and tell your mom I'm about to call 911. He's like, what? I said, go tell her I'm calling 911. He's like, okay. He takes off running. I haul ass over to where she's at, and we're not supposed to move anyone, right? In our protocols, it says don't move them unless, they're in immediate danger or whatever. So I'm assessing her, going through all of that, and she's like, it's okay, please help me up. But when I help her up, her forehead, there is a layer of skin that just flops over, and she just starts bleeding. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. And then the nurses that are inside, they're looking at me and they're like, "She's fine." I was like, "Look at her face." I was like, "She's
it's
not
peeling
fine."
off.
Yeah. So they come out and they're helping her out, and I said, "I'm calling for an ambulance." They're like, "No, no, we'll take care of it." I said, "I'm calling anyway." So I called, and I end up giving them all the information before the questions, and I thought, "Oh, okay." I'm that person.
You are
Yeah.
the worst type of
Yes,
caller.
I'm the worst type of caller because now I'm giving them all the information. The cool thing though was that the person at the time, we knew each other, and I was like, "Hey, it's Ricardo from dispatch." They're like, "Oh, okay, what's going on?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry. That was a dick move for me to give you all of that." But yeah, so
I wasn't ready for any of that.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'm just vomiting all the information out. They're like, "Let's start again." But yeah, so that was pretty crazy though,
Yeah.
that you went through that. Are there any other ways that, I don't know, that you kind of seen that the profession has kind of changed you? Like you were saying, I'm the same way. I don't always like to have my back towards the door.
Oh,
I want
absolutely.
to see what's coming in. I will look at exits too. I think it's also because training that we take, and they talk about suspects and this and that.
Right.
So then you start putting it into your own life. Or here's one other thing, an example to maybe kind of get your brain juices going there. There was a time years back that I had I thought I was having a heart attack, but it turned out to be a mild panic attack that I was having. I'd never had that before, but I started EMDing myself.
yeah, oh
And-
yeah,
yes,
for sure.
and- yeah, and for those who are watching and listening, general public who don't know what that is, it's emergency medical dispatch. Not all dispatch centers use it. They have other protocols, but these are medical protocols that we go through for callers that are calling for medicals. And there are certain things so that we know what's going on, priority, all of that stuff. And sometimes knowing that is worse than going online to like WebMD, because you go on WebMD and you're like, your arm is about to fall off.
Right.
So
You got 3 days left to live or
right,
something.
yes, exactly. So I sometimes will EMD myself. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, just chill out. So for you, are there any ways that you kind of feel like the profession has changed you?
I would say I do notice I look at exits a lot more
Yeah.
when we go to places. I think of worst case scenarios, how I would react. What would I say on the phone call? Just, I don't know. I'm that kind of person. I usually pick their minds, my boss's minds, all the time about like, well, what if this kind of call comes in and this happens and this happens? What do you want me to put it as?
Yeah.
And just try to get every answer as I can get. But you can't prepare for everything.
Nope.
This is very, very true. Yes. And very evident of what we're going to be talking about here in just a moment is, there was a call that the both of you took, and we were doing a lot of filming and everything today. And I want to see if you can take me through that as this is kind of going into the wrap up of this episode, but really talking about what happened, this situation, how it felt going through it and everything. So Janie, let's go ahead and start with you. And what exactly happened? When did this call come in? Was it during the day, morning, nighttime? Walk us through this, please.
So I think it was beginning of our shift.
Yeah, it was
like
around
maybe
7 p.m.
I was like maybe an hour in. Because I work at 5, he works 6, so it was beginning of his shift really. It's just another, rapid notification popped up. I looked at it, and then it came through as a iPhone crash detection. Again, very normal for us to have an iPhone crash detection, so we treat it as a personal injury accident, so we always send them lights and sirens to it. The more and more I'm listening to the iPhone crash detection call, I start hearing this guy on the other end starting to moan. He's moving around. Closer to the end, he's asking for help, and he can't hear me at all. I don't know if his phone was like underneath, the seat, or if it flew into the bag, but I could start hearing him asking for help. He didn't mention anything about fire, I don't think, so. But it's just one of the ones that became true for an iPhone crash detection, which, thankfully they got there when they did.
Right, and from what we were hearing and some of the stuff we were talking about throughout the day, and probably in just meetings and everything that the both of you have been in, had it been even probably a second later, you know, for that detection or finding where they were at or anything like that, everything we did today might have been completely different outcome.
For sure.
So for you, Nate, what was your part in this as Janie's taking the call?
Yeah, so I was, she was first to answer the call, and we've worked together for about 2.5 years now.
This October.
Yeah, about 3 years this October, yeah. So I know her mannerisms and what's going on when she does what she does. And so she's saying hello, hello, so I can already tell this is just an open line. And then she puts in the call for a car accident, for a PI. And so just from that little bit of information, I was able to determine that this was an open line, either a crash detection or it was just somebody that called 911, but that it was at least a crash. So she had already started, as soon as she had dropped it, had started dispatching out police. So I jumped on and started dispatching fire and EMS. And I believe police got there maybe a minute before EMS did. Yeah, if that. And both police and EMS was able to drag him out of the vehicle. And I didn't actually learn till today when we were doing this that he was seconds away from being fully engulfed in flames from that vehicle. When they pulled him out, it was just in the passenger seat, and then by the time that they pulled him all the way out, it had moved over to the driver's seat, and yeah, his feet were already on fire. So they grabbed him, and he pulled him back up to the road because that vehicle was going right as soon as they pulled him out.
Oh man, I commend you both. Very, very job well done. Excellent work. And it's just, you know, there's a lot of times where, you know, people see police, fire, EMS, what they're doing and everything, but they forget about where it starts. They forget about the first responder, those taking the initial call all the way through. Now I have to ask, after all of that is happening and everyone is going out there, I mean, were you on the line still?
Yeah, so I stayed on the line until the officer got there, just to make sure, like, he was there.
Right.
Because he said, you know, show me out, but I didn't hear him in the background. Right. So I'm like, well, I'll just give it a few minutes to make sure I can hear the officer coming up to the subject and talking to him. So that's when I disconnected, is when the officer got there and I heard him.
And I got the chance to watch the video of the camera, and I'm watching as they're taking him out, and all I can think is, what is going on with all of you while all of this is going on? Because I can't compare to what all of you have done or what you went through or anything, but I can understand in the sense of when there's something high priority going on and you've taken this call, now you're kind of sitting and you're waiting, hoping to hear that they've pulled the person out or that there was a rescue or anything like that. So in those moments, even though you're still going and doing your thing because 911 doesn't stop, is there a moment in that time where it almost feels like you're holding your breath?
Yeah, I think there was a few times where I asked the officer repeatedly, I'm like, did you get the subject out?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't respond, so I just kept asking over and over again. And then I think you finally asked EMS, you're like, can you advise if there's entrapment? Did they finally get them out? So it's just like that moment, you're like, and we didn't, we can't see it, so we didn't know, like, it was engulfed in flames until they told us. So it's just those moments, like, you.
Yeah, I want to, back up a little bit.
Sure.
Of, like, the main reason that we were able to find him, so he had gone off the roadway, is Rapid SOS, and that's who has brought us all together and helped us see the end of the story. We usually don't get to see the outcome. Yeah, we hear, oh, he was okay, he was out, but we don't hear about the injuries or what ends up happening to them after all that. So we've got to meet the victim and speak with him and his family. And Rapid SOS has been a really great help, but because of that ping that Rapid gave us, I was able to dispatch it out to fire and EMS and say it is west of this location, south of this road, west of this road, south of this road, and tell them exactly where it was. And we were able to get to him quickly because, yeah, like I said, within probably 5 seconds of them pulling him out, it was fully engulfed. So it's every second counted, and Rapid SOS really helped us through that and get somebody out there as fast as humanly possible. But yeah, going back to your question we're holding our breath. We knew somebody was probably in that vehicle. They get out there, confirmed entrapment. We knew somebody was entrapped, and we were waiting to hear if they were going to get them out. But we didn't even know that it was on fire at the time until they had them all the way out and said, hey, the vehicle's on fire, driver's out of the vehicle. And so I'm now giving out retones of, hey, all fire personnel be aware, driver's out of the vehicle is on fire. And so
And they were talking about like 20-foot flames, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because it went up the whole length of the tree, and those were not small trees.
I was out there yesterday when they were doing their everything that they were doing, and they were telling me if you look on the back of the tree, you can see how far it went up. And so, yes.
Yeah, you could see the whole black line
Right.
from the previous wreck.
So when you find out that they've got them out, is that like a huge sigh of relief?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody's fine, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, because your heart's in your throat and your stomach's where your heart's supposed to be, and like everything, you're tensing up, and you're just waiting to hear that news that this person's out of the vehicle.
Wow, it's an amazing story, and you're right. There are 911 professionals who do not get that closure. They don't get that chance.
Right.
But today, and with everything that's been going on, you got that gift of closure. And I could just imagine now, especially, it's less nerve-wracking, and the stress in the shoulders have kind of melted away. But I have to ask for the both of you. You know, we had a moment here at the fire department where everyone was here, and the driver of the vehicle, his wife, I believe his parents were here. His parents were there as well. And you end up having this moment where the both of you get to meet them. And Janie, you were the first one over there, and our good friend Keely is there introducing. And I'm on one side taking some behind the scenes video. And the gentleman I can see is just struck with emotion.
Right.
And finally gets up and speaks, and I see the both of you, and I myself am trying not to get emotional.
Right. I was
and I'm
trying
thinking,
to hold it back.
I wonder how Janie is feeling right now, because I'm watching the both of you as you're talking to each other, and then you have that moment where you embrace each other. Tell me, please, what is that even like?
I mean, it's a huge moment. It's like a very feel-good moment. You know, yes, I helped you, but, you know, it's, again, I'm doing my job. You know, I thank you for, you know, doing this for us, but it's just what we're here for.
Yeah.
You know, this is the stuff we live for.
Yeah, and I love that you tell him as well, like, this is why we're here.
Right.
And he's like, if it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for you answering and plotting and you know, them plotting and all of this the way it happened, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that embrace and that hug. And we were talking about this earlier, and I had mentioned, you know, a lot of times we end up saying, you know, this is what we do. Like, I was doing my job.
Right.
And I want you to know, like, both of you, how proud everyone is of the both of you. Everyone around here and what you do. So I will echo what everyone else has been saying, and I'll say it again. Thank you both for what you do in this profession. And it's okay to bring it in, and maybe when you both go home, kind of pat yourself on the back a little more. You know, you'll have that moment like, you know what, I'm pretty badass, and you are. You're both pretty badass, and you do something that not a lot of people can do. A friend of mine told me a couple of years ago that only 2 to 4% of the American population can do what you do.
Oh, wow.
I
mean, I figured it was probably a low percent, but yeah, that 2 to 4 is.
Yeah, not a lot of people can be in this profession. and do it and get through it and do all of these things. So for you as well, you had that moment where you got to meet them and embrace. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I was a little bit emotional, but I don't think I have the same connection as Janie did as she heard him. I mean, there was, we'll just go out and say it, that there was a chance that she was gonna be the last one to ever hear him say anything. She has that connection with him. I didn't quite have that connection, but it's always still just that feel-good feeling of like, hey, absolutely, you wouldn't be standing here right now if it wasn't for what Janie and I did in that day. So it's this like proud moment of, I did a really good job.
It has been awesome to have the both of you on here. And for those watching, we've got people moving all over the place. I'm trying to tell them we've got like 10 minutes left to keep everybody on time. So for those who are watching and listening, if you're wondering what I'm doing, that's why. But yeah, you've had these moments, and there is going to be a full production. All I can say is a video type package that will be coming out that all of you will be able to see just from beginning to end, the reunion, just all of this. So again, just thank you both very much. And you're right, you've got the embrace, you met them and everything, but you have that connection.
Right.
You're there with the call, you're hearing all of it. But also at the same time, the both of you were working on this together. And I love in some of the behind the scenes that I was getting that they have the both of you looking at each other like, we got this.
Right.
And so that was really cool to see the camaraderie that is in this profession. So as we go into the wrap up of this, I've got one question left that I'm going to ask the both of you. And Janie, I'll start with you. In your 3 years that you've been in public safety, that you've been in dispatch, now I'm saying this, but also this is not to change anything, because we go through a lot of different things that get us to where we're at today. But if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the beginning of your dispatch career, what would you tell yourself?
Give it time. It will come to you eventually. Because in the beginning, you're like he said, you have this, oh crap moment. I can't do this no more. This is way too hard. This is too much. It will happen. You will have that moment of relief. And then it will just become second nature.
Perfect. Thank you. And Nate, same question. If you could go back in time, talk to yourself in the beginning, 4 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
Janie kind of took mine. It's the same thing, and it's I think every dispatcher in their training is gonna hit that wall, because you're learning so much information, and it takes so much to keep that, you learn one thing and another thing just falls right out of your head, and you're just trying to juggle and keep everything in your head. And so you're gonna hit that wall where you're like, I'm not progressing anymore, I can't do this. But yes, you can. You keep going with it, you will be able to do it. If you've gotten to the point where you have hit that wall, you will be able to make it through. Until you hit that wall, that's where that you get to kind of question yourself, am I gonna be able to make it through? But if you're hitting a wall, that means that you have all the information, your brain's just trying to click it all together. And so that's exactly what I would tell myself, like, stick with it, man. You're gonna get it, and you're gonna help a lot of people, and I have through the years. So
awesome. Hell yes. This has been an excellent episode, and I thank you both for being on, for everything that you do. It was awesome to be here and just see all of this come together, to see the both of you meet the people that were involved in this accident, and just finding out, like you said, seconds before this person pulled out, seconds before they were going to be fully engulfed in flames. Like, this is the craziest thing to think, but because of quick thinking, teamwork, camaraderie, everyone coming together, and of course the technology behind it as well, all of it ended up culminating into this gift of closure and survival when seconds definitely mattered. So thank you both very, very much. And as we go into the wrap up of this episode, for all of those who are watching and listening, if you ever have any comments, questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can simply go to links.co/IAM911, and that is links with 2 i's.co/IAM911. You'll find everything there. You'll find email, social media, where to follow, where to hear the latest episode of the Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the Imagine Listening podcast. You can also find the free link to the community, where there are over 200 hours of free continuing education there, and that's all of the Dare to Be Great virtual events that I have put on. And a big shout out to InDigital as well as Rapid SOS for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you very, very much for everything, as well as subscribers of the podcast. This can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn Live, X, and Instagram, everywhere that you can find different clips and stuff, on TikTok, all of that as well. And then you can listen for both podcasts 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.